All right, this is video 2 for March 26th. We're now looking at Spain. Prior to the 15th century, Spain was divided into several Christian kingdoms in the north, while the south had been under Islamic control since the 8th century. The 1469 marriage of Ferdinand, King of Aragon, and Isabella, Queen of Castile, laid the groundwork for the eventual consolidation of the peninsula, with the final stage of the Reconquista, taking place in 1492, when the armies conquered the last independent Islamic outpost in Spain, the southern city of Granada. The same year also marks the beginning of a new wave of religious bigotry, as the ardently Catholic Ferdinand and Isabella began to demand religious uniformity in their lands and formally expelled the Jewish population that had been established in Spain since the time of the Roman Empire. Those Jews and Moors who converted so they could remain in Spain were later hounded by the Spanish Inquisition, an effective method that the Spanish monarchy would later use to root out suspected Protestants. Through a series of well-planned marriages, Ferdinand and Isabella's grandson, Charles V, eventually controlled a vast empire that dominated Europe in the first half of the 16th century because he controlled Spain, its colonies, and the whole Roman Empire. His Spanish possessions were his primary wealth, and also supplied him with tough Castilian foot soldiers who were best in Europe. When Charles V, exhausted from his struggles to destroy Protestantism in the whole Roman Empire, abdicated in 1556, he gave his brother Ferdinand his troublesome eastern Habsburg lands of Austria, Bohemia, and Hungary, as well as the title of HRE, while Charles' son, Philip, received the more valuable part of the empire, Spain and its vast holdings in the New World, along with southern Italy and the Netherlands. Philip gained a vast wealth from the New World silver mines, yet surprisingly, Philip spent most of his reign in debt as he used his riches to maintain Spanish influence. In the Mediterranean, the Spanish fought for supremacy against the Ottoman Empire and won a notable success against the eastern power of the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. In northern Europe, however, Philip was caught in a quagmire when he attempted to put down a revolt in the Netherlands. This revolt combined religious and nationalistic ideas, as did the whole Reformation, and began in 1568 following the attempt by Philip to impose the doctrines of the Council of Trent and the Inquisition in a land where Calvinism had made significant inroads, particularly among key members of the aristocracy. For the next several decades, Philip expected huge amounts of money to try to restore Spanish control. Inquisition-based efforts such as the Duke of Alva's Council of Troubles failed, as did the effort of military hero Don Juan. It was for this reason that Philip launched the Great Spanish Armada in 1588 as an attempt to conquer England, which under Queen Elizabeth's rule was aiding the Dutch rebels. By 1609, an exhausted Spain conceded virtual independence to the northern provinces of the Netherlands, while still maintaining control over the southern portion of the country. In 1648, formally acknowledged their independence, meaning Dutch fought for independence in 1500s, broke away, and became formally independent in 1648 with the Treaty of Westphalia after the 30 Years' War. Okay, the HRE. Oh wait, hang on, before I move on, the Golden Age in Spain. The 16th and 17th centuries were a cultural golden age that featured the writings of Cervantes, possibly Spain's greatest writer, whose masterpiece, Don Quixote, bemoans the passing of traditional values of chivalry in Spain. It was also a period of remarkable Spanish painters such as Greek-born El Greco, whose magnificent yet somber works reveal much about a Spain that appeared to have it all, only to find it could not maintain its preeminent European position. In fact, the Golden Age of Spain did prove to be short-lived. The constant wars, the efforts of the Price Revolution, and the economic collapse of the Castilian economy led to the decline of Spain's power at the end of the 17th century. Now the HRE. The Holy Roman Empire, a large state that straddled Central Europe, can be said to date back to 962, when the Saxon king Otto I was crowned emperor in Rome by the Pope. In the late 10th and 11th centuries, the empire was most powerful state in Europe, but it was eventually weakened as a result of a series of conflicts with the papacy. While lacking the soldiers to stem the ambitions of the Holy Roman Emperor, successive popes were able to find support among the German nobility who chafed under strong imperial leadership. By 1356, the practice of electing the emperor was formally defined in the Golden Bull of Emperor Charles IV. This document, which granted to 7 German princes the right to elect the emperor, made it clear that the emperor held office by election rather than hereditary right. The electors usually chose weak rulers who would not stand in the way of their own political ambitions. In the ensuing centuries, the empire continued to splinter into numerous and autonomous territorial states, so that by 1500 it consisted of more than 300 semi-autonomous entities over which the emperor ruled but had very little actual authority. Charles V, the powerful Habsburg ruler who was elected emperor in 1519, attempted to establish genuine imperial control over the state. He soon found the Lutheran Reformation provided a new weapon for those German princes and cities that wanted to avoid losing their independence. The Peace of Augsburg signified the end of religious wars in the time of Charles V, who now agreed to adhere to the basic principle that the prince decides the religion of the territory. The treaty, however, did not grant recognition to Calvinists, thus creating a problem when Frederick III, the ruler of the Palatinate, who converted to Calvinism in 1559. What further complicated the situation was that as the ruler of the Palatinate, Frederick was one of the 7 electors of the Holy Roman Empire. Within the next 2 decades, several other German princes followed Frederick's lead and aggressively challenged the religious status quo achieved by the Peace of Augsburg. The tremendous success of the Catholic Counter-Reformation in southern Germany further stoked religious tensions in German states, not Germany. In areas such as Bavaria, all traces of Protestantism were stamped out as Jesuits were invited to take charge of Bavarian schools and universities. Although Charles V failed in his attempt to create a unified German state, the dream would come true. The 30 Years' War, a struggle that combined political and religious issues, marked one final attempt within the Holy Roman Empire to make a dream reality. So let's talk about the 30 Years' War briefly. We may have to cut this in half. I don't know if we're going to be able to finish all this tonight. Okay, 30 Years' War. 30 Years' War began in Bohemia, the modern-day Czech Republic, where in 1617 Ferdinand of Syria, an avid Catholic, was crowned king of Bohemia, eventually would become HRE. The majority of Bohemians were Protestant, and they were angered with the new King Ferdinand's intolerance towards their religious beliefs. In May 1618, a large group of Bohemian Protestant nobles surrounded 2 of Ferdinand's Catholic advisors and threw them out of a window, the second defenestration of Prague. They survived by landing in a dung heap. The next year, Matthias, the Holy Roman Emperor, passed away, and his cousin Ferdinand, the King of Bohemia, was elected Emperor, the Catholic. A few hours after being elected, Ferdinand learned to his horror that the rebels in Bohemia had disposed him and elected Frederick, the Calvinist elector of the Palatinate, as their king. Since he did not have an army, Ferdinand had to turn to the Duke of Bavaria, who agreed to lend his support in exchange for electoral right enjoyed by the Palatinate. At the Battle of White Mountain, the Bavarian forces won a major victory, and Frederick became known as the Winter King because he held on to the Bohemian throne for only that one season. By 1622, he had lost not only Bohemia but also the Palatinate. So the Protestants were losing early on. Catholics under Ferdinand are winning. The question now arises as to why the 30 Years' War didn't end in 1622. Part of the problem was that there was still private armies throughout the empire that wanted the fight to keep going to earn a living. The perceived threat to the Protestants in Germany drew outsiders such as the King of Denmark into the fight, thus creating the second phase, the Danish phase. Additionally, both Catholic and Protestant rulers were concerned that the traditional constitution of the HRE had been dramatically altered when the Palatinate's electoral vote was given to Bavaria. Taking away the vote from the Palatinate was deemed an attack on what contemporaries called German liberties, by which they meant the independence and political rights enjoyed by territories within the HRE. This issue of liberties also came to the foreground when Emperor Ferdinand confiscated defeated Protestant princes' land in the north, creating the genuine opportunity to forge a unified state under Habsburg control. Given this opportunity, Ferdinand first had to find a new army because he no longer had to rely on the Duke of Bavaria, who began to fear Habsburg domination. He turned to the Bohemian noble by the name of Albrecht von Wallenstein for his second phase of the war, who promised to create a mass mercenary army. By 1628, Wallenstein controlled an army of 125,000 and had won a series of major victories in the north. So we'll stop there before we get to the Swedish phase with the Gustavus Adolphus. We'll go to the key concepts real fast. I'm probably skipping around here, guys. Just make sure you go through. I think I covered all of the key concepts in yesterday's video for Unit 1. Oh, no, I did not. There's the Commercial Revolution, which the packet does not cover really at all. I think that's it. Yeah. Let's just go over the Commercial Revolution real fast. And then I think that's it. I think we covered everything else. Let me just verify. Oh, there's a little bit of new monarchies here, too. Let's cover new monarchies and then this Commercial Revolution. Where to go? I skipped it. Yeah, topic 1.5. So monarchs and princes, including English rulers Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, initiated religious reform from the top down in an effort to exercise greater control of religious life and immortality. New monarchies laid the foundation for the centralized modern state by establishing monopolies on tax collection, employing military force, dispensing justice, and gaining the right to determine the religion of their subjects. Across Europe, commercial and professional groups gained in power and played a greater role in political affairs. Continued political fragmentation in Renaissance Italy provided a background for the development of the new concepts of secular state. All right. So we got the exploration stuff, mercantilism, all that. We got all exploration, exchange, got that. Slave trade, we got that. All right, looking at 1.10, commercial revolution. Innovations of banking and finance promoted the growth of urban financial centers and a money economy. Most Europeans derived their livelihood from the agriculture and oriented their lives around the seasons, the village, or the manor, although economic changes began to alter rural production and power. Subsistence agriculture was the rule in most areas, with 3 crop field rotation in the north, 2 crop rotation in the Mediterranean. In many cases, we're probably going to cover this later in later packets. Farmers paid rent and labor services for their lands. The price revolution contributed to the accumulation of capital and the expansion of the market economy through the commercialization of agriculture, which benefited large landowners in Western Europe. Population recovered from its pre-Great Plague level in the 16th century, and continuing population pressures contributed to uneven price increases. Agricultural commodities increased more sharply than wages, reducing living standards for some. I'm gonna skip. We'll probably cover the rest of this tomorrow. I'm looking for the 30 Years' War. Let's see if it shows up somewhere. No. So it has 30 Years' War under. Shoot. Where'd it go? Sorry. Nope. Key concepts 1.23a and 3b, 3c, 3d. Issues of religious reforms, exacerbated conflicts between monarchy and the nobility in the French Wars of Religion. Habsburg rulers confronted an expanded Ottoman Empire while attempting to unsuccessfully restore Catholic unity across Europe. States exploited religious conflicts to promote political and economic interest. A few states, such as France with the Edict of Nantes, allowed religious pluralism in order to maintain domestic peace. The Peace of Westphalia, which marked the effective end of the medieval idea of universal Christendom, accelerated the decline of the Holy Roman Empire by granting princes and bishops and other local leaders control over religion. That's probably it. Yeah, that's it. All right, so we'll start the second video there. Y'all have a good night.